Canada's British Columbia is proposing a law that would allow the province to toll U.S. trucks using its roads to travel to Alaska. The legislation is in response to a planned 25% tariff from the Trump administration on Canadian goods. That is set to be enforced April 2nd. In a statement obtained by the Alaska Beacon, British Columbia's Ministry of Transportation and Transit notes the new legislation does not automatically enforce tolls, but that it, quote, just gives the BC the tools to do so down the road if Trump continues to escalate his threats toward the BC and Canada. Now, according to Alaska's Department of Transportation, more than 90% of cargo sent to the state is delivered via ship. Figures from Canada's Ministry of Transportation show fewer than 10,000 trucks travel through the province to get to Alaska each year. However, the trucks that do deliver cargo there play a critical role in the state's freight transportation system. Alaska State Senator Robert Myers joins us now. When he's not representing his district, he is also a longtime trucker delivering goods between Seattle and Alaska. Senator, thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
So which industries rely most heavily on Alaska truckers and which could see disruption from any potential tolls?
So right away, the two that are going to have the biggest problems are going to be groceries and the oil industry. The groceries are a problem because, as you mentioned, most of our groceries come up on barges and ships up to Alaska, but those can take 10 days to 2 weeks to come up from Seattle, whereas fresh produce, fresh meat, things like that tend to come up on truck because it's about a 3-day trip. The other one is going to be the oil industry. It's again a time problem, and as we've got short construction and drilling seasons up here, we try to get our equipment up here as fast as possible, and that could cause some significant slowdowns and increased costs.
Increased costs. What would be the result of this on either the Alaskan consumer more specifically or the American consumer more broadly?
Well, the Alaskan consumer, again, is primarily going to see it in the cost of increased groceries. We're dealing with the high prices of eggs and high price of produce as much as people are around the country right now. But you're also going to see those tolls get added on. And maybe, depending on how the economics work out, maybe we're going to see less variety in the stores potentially.
Help us understand some of the logistics. So Canada's border with Alaska is more than 1,500 miles long. Tell us about the main roads used for trucking cargo and the logistics of enforcing potential tolls.
So most trucks coming into up to Alaska, you start either from Seattle or you start from central Montana. By the time you get into the middle of BC, there are really only two roads to use. There's the Alaskan, the Alaska Highway, or there's the Cassiar Highway, and both of those roads merge just north of British Columbia into the Yukon Territory, and from there it's just a single road all the way up. So it's relatively easy to see which trucks are coming up to Alaska and figuring out who's going where.
So if this is enacted, this would affect every trip for you?
This hasn't been my route for a while. I have done this route, but it's going to affect a lot of freight coming up to Alaska and a lot of companies.
And you mentioned a concern about this potential toll also being expanded to include freight originating in Canada but traveling to Alaska. Tell us more about your concern there.
So the immediate concern, again, is with the oil industry. Santos, an Australian company, has a large project up on the slope, and they have commissioned a lot of their equipment this last couple of years from northern Alberta because it's another oil producing industry that is familiar with temperatures similar to what we see up in Alaska. So that's one potential problem. Another one is we do have a very small farming industry up here, but it does exist. And in an emergency situation, we've brought in animal feed and other supplies coming out of Canada.
I got to be quick with you on this last one, but do you have a message to either U.S. leadership or Canadian leadership about truckers potentially being caught in the middle of this trade war?
I'd say that, we got to look at the short term and the long term consequences going here. I know that President Trump is keeping a lot of plates in the air with different trade deals. And we're going to have potentially some short term hiccups up here. But, this is similar to what we saw in his first term. He would put out some significant statements early on and use them as negotiating tools. So we may see some short-term pain. Hopefully we see some long-term gain at the end.
So is it your hope that this is actually just a negotiating tactic?
That's my hope, yes. But, I don't know how long it's going to go on. That's one of the big questions right now.
Okay, Alaska State Senator Robert Myers, take care.
Have a good day. Thank you.